Saddle up your horses.
Pitter patter, let's get at her. It is another episode of the Manely Broncos Podcast, and we are finally here, gentlemen. We are finally here. The NFL season, the 2023 NFL season is finally upon us, which means that the Kansas City Chiefs and Detroit Lions will be kicking off on Thursday. So it is finally here, and so it seems certainly fitting that when we do a NFL predictions, we do it, of course, the night before. So, of course, as you can tell, Brandon is in the house. Now we're like the ultimate. One, we're guys, but two, we're the elite ultimate procrastinators. So as you can tell, Brandon is in the house, and as you can tell on the top right corner, John Cronenberg, or John K, as you are formerly known on Twitter, joins the show. You guys obviously have seen him before on Orange and Brew.
Yeah.
And before we get started, it's probably worth, having you plug a certain other show that just got started on the network, which is the CCF show. And of course, it's fitting because me being a Nebraska Cornhuskers fan, you being a Colorado fan, I should say, there's a big game this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're doing. This is week 3 for us in the Colorado Collegiate Focus, and we're really excited. We've been able to do a lot of fun, different things. Been able to go to a few, practices for Air Force, so that's been really fun. Been able to speak with the players, some of the coaches. Really been able to dive in with the Air Force, but then also have some of my guys, Tony Casolo. He's doing, different kind of interviews with players, as well as is at all the press conferences with Coach Prime Sanders. So I think it's been really fun what we're doing, and we have a lot of things coming in the future. Just very excited about it. And how are you feeling, though, in terms of Nebraska versus Colorado? Let's be honest, vent if you need to. Also, hey, if you feel like this is going to be a hard-fought game, let us know. Let us Colorado guys know.
I think that's the thing for me that's so hard to predict, because this Nebraska team has had nearly every single game that they play be like a 1-score loss. It is devastating, to say the least. And so when you have all those games, it seems certainly fitting that if you're going to bet on the game, that you'd be like, okay, this is going to be another low-scoring game, and the way things have gone, Nebraska's going to lose it to like a late second field goal, or so on and so forth. But I think that the thing that causes some pessimism, if you will, and I'm not really a huge pessimist, Brandon and John, you guys know that. I'm like an eternal optimist, but like when you see the play of Jeff Sims,
so you say that now. Just wait until after the game.
But like you see the way Jeff Sims played, you see the way that he, orchestrated, the offense. I think at times you could certainly see how exciting he is as a runner, and at times certainly exciting as a passer. But like 3/4 of the time during that game, he's telegraphing passes, and you cannot telegraph passes.
Not only that, but I also felt like technically he was having issues with his footwork, how he was kind of getting, torque going. You can't have those kind of issues when you have a zone coverage that's and you're not hitting your guy when they're kind of in their stride. So I definitely see where you're coming from with Jeff Sims. I'm very excited what he can do in terms of potential, but until that hits, it's going to be hard for Nebraska, and I think CU has to come and bring pressure to kind of make him uncomfortable and make mistakes like he did in the previous game.
And that's the other thing, is the offensive line was a huge shaky thing. So it wasn't just Sims, obviously, but like the left tackle was a sieve, and I think the crazy statistic that I heard of that game was Minnesota had sent the blitzes like 6 times in that game, which meant that they were getting home with 3 down linemen, which is, regardless if you're in the NFL or not, that is like a big no. You cannot get home when you are bringing pressure with 3. Obviously, for a defensive coordinator, that's like a huge win, but
that's the dream,
right? For an offensive coordinator, that's like the worst nightmare, if you will.
Right.
But it should be interesting. It should be a fun atmosphere. I know that something that's been in the conversation before and into the future is that maybe we do a home and home. And I think that regardless of the fact that Deion Sanders is there or whatever, that they do work something out to where they can do some sort of home and home. I know Iowa is their rival, but kind of work in some sort of way that where you can kind of bring, Colorado back into the mix as far as a home and home, whether that's, every 2 years, every 3 years or whatever, kind of work.
Find a way. Yeah. I think it's something the fans deserve. And I think it's something that, the Big 10 and Big 12 deserve, to kind of have something else go again for them to go at it.
So Brandon, how are you doing, man?
What is happening? What's up?
How was your I almost said 40 weekend. I wish it was a 40 weekend. How was your 3-day weekend?
It was good. We hosted a barbecue basically at my new place, which was awesome. And I ate so much food. Like we have so much leftovers that it's kind of ridiculous. And we threw the football around. So like it was basically like as white picket fence American Labor Day weekend Monday as you could possibly get. And then just like the cherry on top is that football comes back this week, which is now tomorrow. So yeah. I am so ready for this. We'll talk about it. All I'm saying is if the Lions pull it out, I will be a diehard Lions fan this year. I mean, I'm already a Lions fan, but I will literally go all out.
Yeah. I was going to say, and not just that you talked about, football coming back, but it's also a short week for a lot of people.
It's a short week. I had a short week last week too. So, I'm living the dream.
It is definitely the dream. Thank you to everybody that is popping in. By the way, Big E Broncos, thank you so much for hopping in. Clayton, one of our favorite guys, he's in the house. And Gage, of course, from the 5280 podcast, the Denver Broncos Syndicate, one of the great shows, of course, as well on YouTube as well. Thank you for hopping on. As we said, this is a NFL predictions show for the AFC and NFC, but that's not all.
We're gonna get wild.
There could be some crazy takes. I think that's the best thing about like doing some of these is like there's some wild takes at times in terms of maybe who wins the division, who could be the surprise team, who could be the wild card, pun intended, team that no one saw coming, be that wild card team. And then, of course, the awards. When we hand out the awards, who are those players that maybe not a lot of people are keeping tabs on that might actually sneak in and win an award, right? Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that, and then, of course, we'll dive into Super Bowl representatives. We're not going to talk about who wins the Super Bowl, but we are going to talk about who will the representatives be from the AFC and NFC. First things first, though, before we get started, it is worth pointing out that if you guys are watching on Twitter, first off, thank you guys for watching us through Twitter. But sadly, if you guys are commenting, these aren't the Periscope days. I'm sorry, but those comments aren't going to be shown through Twitter. So if you guys would hop on to YouTube, go search the MHRT Network tab, subscribe, of course, because we love you first. And go search and go find the Manely Broncos podcast and come find us and chat away in the comments. And we also do have super chats now. So if you guys feel compelled and obligated to give us a super chat, feel comfortable to, give us, whatever it feels comfortable for you. No pressure at all. So with that,
I would also just like to point out, just to get it on the record, that I sent text to Cam 2 days ago, consoling him on his impending loss against CU after that game. Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't happened yet.
But you're going to get absolutely destroyed.
I said it before, though. Don't be surprised if it's another close game with Nebraska. That's just the way things.
Is it though?
I'll say this. That's the way Minnesota likes to play games though as well. They like to kind of keep a team on the leash kind of for 3 quarters, and then the 4th quarter they kind of warn you out with their offensive line and their defensive line. That's at least their mindset. I'm not sure. I didn't get a chance to watch the full game, so I'm not sure if that actually came to fruition. But hey, that's what I felt like Minnesota's goal was.
But the point, though, Brandon, is if you've watched a lot of Nebraska games, they've literally had 1-score games. So that the logical, idea and conclusion, of course, is
sounds like they're overdue for a total blowout.
I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, I wouldn't put it past it the way that Colorado put up 45 points on, the national champion runner-up, whose defense was
in their stadium.
Who's not the best defense, mind you.
But it was in their stadium.
But it was in their stadium. And actually,
that's
okay.
all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, I'm just going to let Brandon do the talking here. I'm an imp.
Yeah, he's got the popcorn and he's just ready to roll, I see. Actually, before we dive into this real quick, Travis Hunter, what a freak, dude. Like, the guy is like the Shohei Ohtani of college football. I mean, and I think the thing that we said about Shohei Ohtani is like he's revolutionizing baseball in the sense of like what you had in high school, in terms of players pitching and hitting and just revolutionizing that way. And Travis Hunter is basically doing almost the exact same thing that you would see in high school, which is they're playing two ways, which is, the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball. And how many snaps did he have? He had like
110.
Yeah, I thought it was 112, something like that. So you might be right on 110. It was crazy.
In college is ridiculous.
And on top of that, so now he's not getting as much work during the week. You got to keep his body fresh, obviously. But he was
ready to keep going. He was like, "Yeah,
but someone has to watch out for him, and the team does." I know. But for me,
129. Oh my god, I was wrong.
So yeah, it was even. I was wrong too. So, what came to mind for me, and I know this is far off, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, but Champ Bailey, he did both ways too. He was a top pick. He did a lot. He had over 800 yards, I believe, receiving, or maybe yards from scrimmage his senior year. So hey, maybe we'll see a comeback to this kind of style.
I mean, I was going to ask that because slight off topic. When he gets drafted, it's got to be as a corner, right?
Yeah, you got to go for
because you can't
the positional strength.
As much as I want so badly to watch that in the NFL, I feel like it's just literally not possible. You just can't.
Well, but the thing too that you have to keep in mind, and granted, I've only seen one player do this within the current year or two, but Marcus Jones, the guy from Houston who is with the New England Patriots now.
Yeah.
In a preseason last year, he took a kickoff return for a touchdown, an interception for a touchdown, and also a receiving touchdown. So, I mean, it is certainly possible for them to do that. And if there's a best way to experiment, it would be the preseason. But you would also have to certainly have a plan in place of when you had drafted him, what it's going to be like.
Yeah. No, it's definitely got to be, I think you have to lean edge, cornerback. But I agree with you. You got to kind of play around with it a few times, see if there's something there that he's being able to make. TCU again, number 17 at the time, be able to look kind of silly in multiple phases of the game.
Yeah. All right, so
his basically game-winning interception.
That was
absolutely ridiculous.
Laid out.
All right, so now moving into, of course, the predictions, right? Of course, the predictions. That's the what is it? The Patrick gif, the scheming, the scheming gif, of course, with the Patrick from SpongeBob. What division do you guys want to start off with first? Do you guys want to go AFC South, NFC South? What division do you guys want to start off?
We have to end with the AFC West just for hashtag content.
All right. So let's just start with, of course, the AFC South, which is the hardest division in football. Okay, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Yeah, of course, it's not the most difficult division in all of football, but the AFC South, surely the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be the team that comes out on top, right?
This division fascinates me because what Jacksonville Jaguars are we going to be getting is what I want to know. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm expecting, for one, I have them winning it. I'm expecting them to win it. I'm expecting to get the good Trevor Lawrence, but just the absolute, I'm not even sure what to call it. I guess it's just the Chargers charging away that game, but yeah. I mean, and that's which I'll talk about. I have a better analogy for them when we get to that division, but Trevor Lawrence has been kind of up and down a little bit. I mean, he's still Trevor Lawrence. He's still incredibly talented. Doug Peterson is a great coach. They seem to have something going there. And then Calvin Ridley. I mean, Calvin Ridley coming back is going to be huge. The question, I guess, was mostly about him getting back into like reacclimating with football because he's been out for like 2 years?
Pretty much, yeah.
About 2 years. That's insane. But you watch him in camp. Did you guys see that video of him in camp where like it was all the receivers running routes, and it was like I don't remember who ran in front of him, but someone ran a route and it was just like phoned it in basically. And then the next, I mean, it looked like he phoned it in compared to Ridley because Ridley was up next and he just was like the same route but at like 2.5 times speed. It was ridiculous. So that's going to be massive. I do have them winning it. But I am just curious, like personally, and I want to see what you guys think about, again, like what's going to happen with the Jags and Trevor Lawrence? Like, or is he going to continue and take that next step? Is he going to completely implode again? I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I got the Jags winning this division as well. I think that they're going to be able to take advantage of this. Again, a weak division. They should be able to. For me, I see Lawrence being able to, continue that growth, and he's going to take advantage of Doug Peterson and the lessons from this offseason. For me, again, like you said, you made a good point with the receivers they have. They brought in some weapons. Yes, their line has had some changes. I think the Jags offensively are going to see a lot of explosive plays just again, because they're going to have time to work on it with some of these poor teams in the South. I mean, to be honest, the next opponent that comes to mind that can win the division is Tennessee Titans. And I don't really know if I can say I feel comfortable with Tannehill really leading them that way. Do you feel comfortable with him there?
So just first of all, I agree with you about, I do think he's going to take that next step. Like I think that's going to happen in terms of Trevor Lawrence, but you mean the Tennessee Derrick Henrys?
Well, I mean, that's pretty much all they are. Yeah. Yeah.
Now DeAndre Hopkins is there. DeAndre Hopkins is there.
Oh, let's not
okay.
do. Is he going to be like Randy Moss though? Like his final year? I mean, is that going to be what we see from DeAndre Hopkins? I hope not.
But like, if he pulls a Randy Moss, Randy Moss post age 36 is better than point.
That's true.
Justin Jefferson's whole career stats at this point is actually ridiculous. But
well,
I don't know, Cam, what did you think? I do have the Tennessee Derrick
I was going to say Josh actually brings it it's laughable, but it's a very good
Jags
point.
Can afford to go 8-9.
Like that's the thing with this.
They can.
That's the thing with this division. Is like you could actually go 8-9, and that's the thing with this division. Like you could go 8-9 or 9-8.
Okay.
And sneak into the playoffs because of the fact you won the division, and because of that, you'll also be a much higher seed than the wild card team. So like that's the other part of this. But I have Jacksonville winning as well. But I just think that I definitely call Jacksonville one of those teams that is a team to definitely watch out for. Because like it's funny how things come full circle, right? Because like when they had Blake Bortles, they actually were a pretty good team, and then not only that,
Bortles.
The defense was shining. The defense was pretty stout. Frankly, the defense was about as comparable for a certain stretch as the Broncos had for that 2015 defense for a certain stretch. And I think that was was it close to Leonard Fournette's first year or two, with the Jaguars, if I'm not mistaken. So, but to see where they've come now, and then finally, it seems get it right with the head coach with Peterson, which they lucked out, by the way, in terms of not getting Byron Leftwich. So I mean, I think defensively and with everything that they're at, I really like the rise of Jacksonville. Now, obviously, we were joking earlier about 8-9. Don't be surprised if they win 10 games, though. Seriously, because like they're truly that talented of a team, and I think that the Calvin Ridley edition, as much as it was a year out, is something that I think is really going to pay dividends in the long run. Because we talk so much about how fresh legs. You could argue Calvin Ridley has the freshest of legs because he's had a year off.
His last game was October 24th, 2021.
Wow. I mean,
It's just
it
insane.
really has been some time. It's been a
So if you want to gamble, on Calvin
Oh,
Ridley,
God. Okay, I know this has been said. Okay, first of all, Cam, shut up. Second of all, I know this has been said today, but like the irony of teams suspending players for gambling, and then the team official account putting out the over/under on the score for the game is like next level. Like if people listening to this didn't see this, the Chiefs
I did not see this,
Twitter account tweeted out like the over/under for their game tomorrow, and it just like got eviscerated by all the quotes of people being like, okay, so the actual official team will tweet out the bet line, but if any players bet, they're going to get suspended for the whole game.
A player were to retweet that or something? I mean,
you can't. No,
I don't even want to get into that. But it's one of those things where
I would just look at.
They're not even saying it, but that is ridiculous.
It's just funny. But going back real quick to that 8-9 comment, because I agree. I will say though, I think this might be the last year you can get away with that.
Yeah,
because I mean, looking at. The Tennessee Derrick Henrys are one thing. Derrick Henry at some point is going to fall off. Ryan Tannehill, he's actually good. I kind of like him getting some more weapons, but like it also feels like the Titans receiver core is where you go to die as in your career, so I guess we'll see. But I mean, you got the Texans with CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans, which like could be a really good combo if you can kind of put it together. And then Colts, I mean, Anthony Richardson is supremely talented physically. Shane Steichen could be a good coach for all we know. He was good in Philadelphia. I mean, they still have Jim Irsay, which,
Germ Irsay, which will kind of drag you down a little bit. But, I mean, the rest of the division right now, it kind of looks like a runaway with it. But this could actually be, theoretically, a somewhat competitive division, and then ironically, if it does go that way, I feel like in the next couple of years the Titans would actually fall to the bottom and just like stay there. And that's what I was going to say is the Texans, I think, will find themselves possibly in where the Jaguars were, depending on how Ryans builds that team. And I think that's just that's all dependent upon are they going to reap the benefits of what they did in this draft, which was
man.
No, well, I meant as far as the aggressiveness of getting
CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, who I'll talk about later.
Right.
But I mean, the reason I bring up Tank Dell, like he's down the list of their picks, and he is an absolute monster. They're going to be kind of fun, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're one of those teams where they're going to be able to kind of elevate themselves. They traded away that first round for next year, but I think, they're going to get a few more wins than they would have, again, being in the weaker division. So I think that worked out well for them, honestly.
All right. So we all have Jacksonville. Matty, unfortunately couldn't make it, but he also picked Jacksonville.
Good.
So it's a sweep there for the Jacksonville Jaguars crowd. Now let's go north. Let's go to the AFC North. Who do we got winning this one? This one is a tad interesting, in the sense because it seems like the Bengals are going to be that team. But I tell you, not just Baltimore's case, but Baltimore is also one of the more fascinating teams, not just in the AFC North, but the entire AFC, because who knows what this marriage of Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson are going to be like.
What I was going to say.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, finish.
Because like the interesting thing to me with that is because Todd Monken goes to the Bucs and has 44-year-old Tom Brady with the most passing attempts in an entire season in the league, which is like ridiculous. So I'm really curious to see that. That's like the one wrinkle when I was looking at that division. Of like, I did slot the Bengals in kind of automatically as like, oh, they're going to win. But the Ravens, like, I'm really interested to see what happens there. Like, do we see 2019 Lamar Jackson resurface a little bit again? Because that would be kind of insane. I mean, his wide receivers are interesting. They've spent like a really high draft pick on Zay Flowers, who's like an incredibly talented receiver. I mean, he's a rookie, but he's very good. We'll see what happens with Rashad Bateman. I don't know what really is going to happen there. Like he kind of hasn't really done much, but they also didn't pass as much. It's really interesting. Like I'm agreeing with you on the what's going to happen with the Todd Monken. That's like the wrinkle.
Yeah. What about you, John?
The one interesting thing for me is the Cleveland Browns, honestly. I think they're better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. I think they can push for maybe a wild card position if things go their way. It's, again, one of those things where they have a few key pieces. That defense got better, I feel like, even though they had some subtractions. And if they can stay healthy, with Ward, who wasn't healthy last year, I really think the Cleveland Browns could step up and at least get in the way of, Cleveland, get in the way of Cincinnati and some of these other teams kind of running away with the division. I think it's going to keep everyone very tightly knit together. And I have kind of the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of falling in the rear. So
it's funny. I have the exact opposite.
Really cool. I'm good with that because I'm not a fan of
for like the same reason almost. Go. Like I feel like the Steelers could kind of be that team because they've kind of been like slept on a little bit this offseason. Like they've, by all reports, seemed better. Like what's coming out of camp, what we saw in the preseason with Kenny Pickett. Like he's looking like a guy who kind of made that sophomore jump. And then, I mean, I don't know. They have good wide receivers around him. Najee Harris is like, I don't know, but Jalen Warren kind of looks like a dude in their backfield too.
Pat Freiermuth,
man. Pat Freiermuth, I actually took him in one of my leagues because in fantasy, because I think he's actually going to be shockingly good. And then Mike Tomlin. I mean, Mike Tomlin literally has never had a losing season. Like, as long as Mike Tomlin is the coach of that team, I will never count them out ever. So I'm
That's
kind
a fair
of
point.
Have a similar
point. I mean, if we're thinking about the Broncos a little bit later on, that's a very good point. So
like Mike Tomlin, if I could trade for any quarterback in the NFL, I love Sean Payton. It'd probably be Mike Tomlin.
Pretty sure you would trade for quarterback.
Mike Tomlin, or quarterback, coach. Can Mike Tomlin play quarterback? Coach. Mike Tomlin
played linebacker.
Deserves can we go back and give him I don't think posthumously is the term for because that's posts if he passed away, but go back and give him basically a coach of the year award for every single year that he had to have Antonio Brown on that roster, because the amount of
chaos he controlled,
manipulation that guy had to go through to keep a lid on everything, and no one knew the crazy of Antonio Brown. And for years he was just this incredibly great wide receiver, is be the best wide receiver in the league. And just Mike Tomlin had, I don't know, maybe it was Antonio Brown. I did not expect to talk about Antonio Brown this much, but maybe Antonio Brown, I don't know. He had all those hits. He developed. He clearly has some kind of mental problem. And I don't want to talk lie to that. He has some things going on. He needs to see a professional. He needs help. But just for what Mike Tomlin was able to do when he had to have him on that roster, and even before all that, he kind of just seemed all wide receivers to a point are kind of like the diva just a little bit, but that seemed on steroids. So can we just go back and give Mike Tomlin just a bunch of Coach of the Year awards for that whole situation?
I think that just when you doubt the Pittsburgh Steelers, they get a winning. They have a winning record, or they don't have a losing season. And because and especially this last year, right? Because if you look at it last year, this was the first year without Ben Roethlisberger, and so I think that when you factor that in, and of course
rookie
Kenny Pickett, who some felt, maybe not a lot, but some people felt like he was the most pro-ready quarterback coming into that draft class, and a lot of people really weren't the biggest fan of that draft class, and you do have a George Pickens who, frankly, if you're going to be talking about a sleeper pick, like a true sleeper pick for Offensive Player of the Year, George Pickens would be certainly one of those wide receivers.
George Pickens, Deontay Johnson also gets slept on a little bit, because that guy he just demands targets. He just gets open and makes it easy on his quarterback. He's just going to have it 170 targets again.
All right, so we'll go around. Who wins the North?
The North, Cincinnati. It's got to be for me.
So it's Cincinnati.
Being boring right now.
Bengals. Well, I have the Browns in last. I
like
how
that.
Watson looked.
I hope so. I can only hope.
I'm not rooting for him to succeed. I I want him to fail, but completely objectively speaking, he did not look good at all. Like not even slightly. So
yeah.
Cam, what did you
made him look silly?
So
what did you have?
I have Bengals, but I think that it will finish Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, and then Cleveland. But I think that division is going to be pretty close between the Ravens and the Bengals. I really do.
Real quick, do you guys
really
think there's
interested
going
to see the Ravens? Go ahead.
Do you think there's going to be some self-cannibalization in that division where that there can't be for our wild cards maybe a little bit later?
It's certainly
It could happen. It could happen.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Okay. Just wondering.
So all Bengals, right?
All Bengals.
Yeah.
All right. So we are writing
Joe Cool, man.
We're writing the Who Day, right?
Who Day.
Hopefully his calf is okay.
Yeah, hopefully the calf is
That's the only question.
Yeah.
It's
you gotta stop skipping leg day in the gym, man.
It's Cooper Kupp whose leg we should be worrying about. But
God.
we'll digress.
I'm so glad I don't have him in any fantasy league. Anyway.
He is the one guy that you risk. You could take him with, say, like your 8th or 9th pick, but he's also one of those players that could easily fall to the 3rd round because
I
of
still
his
wouldn't
injury.
take him.
Jonathan Taylor is the exact same way.
Oh, I never would.
All right.
Anyway.
So now it seems fitting, actually, the way that we organize this, that we'll wrap things up with possibly the 2 toughest divisions in football, and that being the AFC East. So the AFC East, I will say this, if there is a division and this is a nice little teaser for the AFC West sometimes, as I would say as well, but I will say I am far more confident in the AFC East having 3 playoff teams than the AFC West having 3 playoff teams. But that said, you can easily make the argument. You can easily make the argument for both.
I was almost really spicy in this division. I drew back the spice a little bit. I had 1 jalapeno instead of like 7
on a steak.
But we'll be. I'm interested to see what happens.
On a steak, jalapeno on a steak.
Yeah, on a steak.
Yeah. So why don't you lead it off? You kind of teased a little bit.
Okay. I was so close to having the Dolphins winning it.
Ooh.
And I might switch this around at some point and say that they're going to win it. The main reason I say this, one, I think Tua just first of all has the best duo of wide receivers in the NFL. Like that's just not even a question. McDaniel having another year, Tua having another year in that system, hopefully being healthy, them having a legitimate defense, and Vic Fangio, them adding Vic Fangio to that staff is the reason that I almost picked them to win the AFC East. Because like Vic Fangio, we know obviously in Broncos country is an absolutely incredible defensive minded coach, or defensive mind in general. Him like having that break from being in Denver, going back to just being a coordinator, not have to worry about the offensive side of the ball at all, not having to worry about special teams at all. He just to go in there, do his thing with an incredibly talented defense. I just feel like I would not be surprised if the Dolphins pull it out. The other reason I say that I'm still sitting at it right now. I'm looking at it. I have the Bills winning. Then I have the Dolphins in second. But the other reason I almost picked the Dolphins, and I might go back to them, is the Bills just kind of like started to like crumble slightly, just like a little bit
last year.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I can't count them out as Josh Allen. He's incredibly talented. Like he's literally Josh Allen. You want to say he's the best quarterback in the league. I'm not going to argue. He's like easily top 3. He might just be easily top 2. He's Josh Allen. I'm really interested to see what they do there with him because he's going to run the ball, but I feel like they're going to try to dial it back a little bit. I think they're going to give more to Dalvin Cook's brother, in James Cook in Buffalo, who's an incredibly talented running back that's been a 2nd round draft pick on. I think he's going to be good. I just feel like, and I think that might kind of help alleviate things a little bit, but I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I still think Josh Allen is incredibly good. I think the kind of difference between him and some of the things Mahomes does, and I hate to say this, And Mahomes still kind of struggles with this issue, but like Josh Allen will get into those weird spots of just like pure hero ball, just like hero ball. I have to get everything at once. I have to throw 80 yards because I can. And he doesn't really do as much like take what the defense gives me, I throw underneath, check it down.
Or even like live to fight another day, throw the ball away.
And I feel like, I mean, he's coachable enough. I mean, again, he's still he's an elite quarterback. And he can be, kind of brought back down to earth a little bit, and he could be completely fine. And this might be completely, a stupid take. But I don't know. They just kind of looked a little weird last year, and I'm not counting out the Dolphins. So screw it. I'm going to say it. Dolphins are winning.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm going to say it right now on air. Dolphins are winning that division. I still have the Bills second. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be really close.
Yeah.
But that's where it is. And then, we'll get into the rest of it. But what do you guys think?
I'm not going to lie. I like the fire, Brandon. I like the fire because I think that when you look at specifically this year, you touched on the Bills' inconsistency. That's the thing with this AFC East this year, which sort of brings you back to when New England finally was able to open up that door for a team like the Buffalo Bills. So, like, this is that 1 year where the AFC East is sort of now a little open because of that. And I think that's I think it's fair to make the assumption that are the Dolphins a team that they should be worried about? Are the Jets even a team that we should be having this conversation? Because we certainly know that, well, the Jets and Dolphins, maybe in terms of the defensive side of things, they're rather the same, if not, maybe the Jets being just a tick above the Dolphins, or the Dolphins being a tick above the Jets. But I mean, definitely support the idea for the Dolphins.
Dolphins still have Xavier Howard. I mean, everyone points at the Jets as, Sauce Gardner is elite and amazing. I mean, Xavier Howard's still a very good cornerback. They have Bradley Chubb, who's kind of been, a little bit of a bust for them, to be honest. But Bradley Chubb and Vic Fangio might resurrect a little bit. Jalen Phillips, incredibly talented defensive player. Javon Holland, it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
it's funny too because, and then John, I'm interested to see what you said, but it's funny because for the longest time it was like the Patriots and everyone else, and now it's everyone else and the Patriots.
Exactly.
Or it's the Buffalo Bills now, and then that's kind of
yeah, but I feel like because before though, like with the Patriots, it was like they were so good and everyone else was absolutely garbage, and now it's like the Bills are so good, but also like the Dolphins are really good, and the Jets could be really good, and the Patriots have Mac Jones.
I mean, the Patriots used to be able to get sweep 6-0 essentially.
Every year,
and now it's going to be again some of the self cannibalization in these stronger divisions. So it's definitely interesting for me. I think I love your take with why you went with Miami, especially with Fangio being on that defense. Brandon, I think that's one of those just huge things that it's kind of gone under the radar. Of course, I like McDaniels. He went to Smoky Hill. I did too. So there's going to be a little connection.
You like
there.
McDaniels? Or
McDaniel? Oh, you caught me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We gotta make sure we don't make that.
You got me. You saved me. That could have been very bad, and that could have been a clip, and that would have been even worse.
Yeah, we don't want that on Instagram reel on the MHRT Network Instagram reel.
No, we don't. But I like him just kind of for who he is. But again, when you were talking about some of those different options that they have for Miami, it's really hard to not go with them. But I do still see Buffalo being a little bit more mature, a little bit more ready. Maybe not mature in a sense of, maturity, normal maturity, but more mature as an NFL team. They're more ready to make those kind of plays. Really interested to see what Davis can do this year, and some of those kind of other things. But yeah, I think it comes down to very interesting things. Like you said, the running game, is Cook going to be able to kind of show off that talent where everyone wanted him early in day one, day two, kind of thinking of him, where last year he didn't really live up to those expectations. I feel like I don't think he was given the opportunity either though. So that's what I'm excited to see is if he gets the opportunity.
So here's the thing. I actually feel that when you have when you have this division, I definitely agree. When I said earlier, I think that obviously it's one where you could see 3 people come out of this division,
Yeah.
And go to the playoffs. I have the Bills winning.
Yeah.
But I will say, and this is a teaser.
You want the jalapenos on Steve?
But as far as teasing, who will be a wild card team, the Dolphins will be my wild card team. But that said, look, I love my Denver Broncos, and I think that they will be riding high. But that said, the Miami Dolphins are the AFC sleeper team as they close out the season. So the Bills may win the division, but the Bills may not advance because I think the Dolphins are way more suited to advance in the playoffs than the Buffalo Bills.
The Dolphins sneakily knocking people out of the playoffs. It could happen, man. It could 100% happen, and I am here for the chaos.
So
that would actually be so much fun to watch.
Yeah, so I took your spice and lifted a little bit.
Oh no, I was the original spice. I'm the OG spice. Get out of here.
All right, so everybody basically went Buffalo except for Brandon went with the spicy. Yeah, went with the Miami.
All the jalapenos. I'm all in.
But he very much got us to kind of agree and at least me kind of feel more that way and feel a little bit more uncomfortable going with the Bills.
Here's the question though. How good are the Jets going to be?
I'm a 3. Which,
but I mean, when I say that, how good are they going to be? So with the top heavy AFC that you see, what is it going to be like? Are they going to be a 9-win team, a 10-win team? Because one of the things we talked about to transition a little bit to the Broncos and the AFC West a little bit is in order for you to go to the playoffs, you have to win at least 10 games. You would feel to go into the playoffs. So if you're the Jets, you almost have to win 10, right, to go into the playoffs.
In that division, especially, yeah. We'll get into it, but I don't know. I just can't. Part of this is what happened in Denver last year with Russ. I just can't buy into it until I see it. I have to see it. I have to see it first. Aaron Rodgers kind of was falling off a little bit. I mean, he was still Aaron Rodgers, and his game translates and ages better than Russell Wilson's game does. But I mean, he went from the model of consistency of he doesn't throw picks to just yep, I'm going to go back to double-digit picks for the first time since 2010, which is insane to think about. Holy shit, that he went that long without throwing double-digit picks. But it just, I don't know. And I mean, Garrett Wilson is an incredibly talented wide receiver. He has the weapons. Ironically, he's kind of like the new Devontae Adams for them. And then, I mean, what does Nathaniel Hackett do? I mean,
yeah,
who shall not be named. But they're so talented. I mean, they got Dalvin. Breece Hall is an incredibly talented running back. They have a good defense. I mean, I think just similar to the AFC West, that division is so hard. I have them 3, and it's mostly because I think the Patriots are just garbage. It's tough. I don't think they're. We'll get into it.
Yeah, because I will say I definitely think that they're going to be better, in terms of the overall team. But that again doesn't translate to 8 wins. That doesn't translate to 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. So they could easily be the exact same team that you saw record-wise this last year. But what you see on the field is actually better. But that's because the product of what you see in the AFC is also so much better.
And then you look at their schedule. They open it against the Bills. Then they're at Dallas. They come back, play the Patriots, whatever. That's a free gimme. Chiefs, they come to Denver. Eagles, Giants, Chargers. It's not a cakewalk. There's a couple of nice ones sprinkled in there, but I don't know.
Yeah. All right, gents. We finally made it to the West, the AFC West. And anybody that is in the chat, that wants to drop their predictions for some of these divisions, please do so. I know we didn't get so much, so catching up on some of this. Josh mentions that the Steelers are a cheat code in finding, or should I say, drafting wide receivers, and that is very, very true. I think they even stashed away Calvin Austin as well, so he's another one of those wide receivers that who knows what it's going to be.
He was out of Memphis, right?
Yeah, he was definitely out of Memphis. Didn't get a chance to catch Richie. Rich A, thank you for hopping on. Hope you had a good Wild Wild West show. Biggie Bronco does say that they're going to go 6-11, which and we said earlier though is that if you do doubt Pittsburgh, they're going to come in and they're going to be 9-8 basically, because they're not going to have so it just seems like that kind of way with Pittsburgh. So Josh has
London.
It's 3-13 to get sent to London. Actually, it would be 3. It would be 3-14 with the
3-14. Sorry.
Yeah, but still, and still sent to London.
When you guys used to play Madden, did you guys ever like pick a team that you would always kind of relegate and move them? Like it wasn't your team. Let's move this team. Was there any team you did for that, or no? It was just me.
So
I always did it with
remember,
Cleveland.
Honestly,
I did it with Cleveland. I always moved them.
You moved Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think I tried to move. I think I tried to move Denver once. I don't know why.
Did you? Yeah.
It was not recently.
Mine wasn't moving per se, but like what I would do is I would play the suckiest team on Madden.
Okay.
Put it on rookie and like 15-minute quarters and just run up the score and put up as much points as I could, score as many yardage.
I did
as
that
much
somewhat, something like that.
Yeah.
See, I would pick the horrible team, simulate the whole season, then go into the draft and just take like the top quarterback. And then
that was really fun when you had both Madden and NCAA and you could do the combination. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to do sometimes with Madden.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you can definitely.
It was just randomly generated players.
Yeah, and you can import draft classes now, but it sort of lacks its luster a little bit when you don't have the NCAA EA Sports, which is rumored to be coming back next year. And there's a rumor coming out that the ESG Football Group is coming out with a game called ESG Football 24, which is from the makers. Some of the makers from Madden, and then not only that, but you have some pro football players that are advocating for it. Guys like a former San Diego Charger, Sean Merriman, and Shady McCoy has been, publicly advocating for it. So something to kind of watch out for. It seems to be kind of like in the 2K style, which is like park, and you can grind badges and stuff like that, and do 7-on-7, 11-on-11, that kind of deal. So yeah, so if you're kind of interested in that. All right. The AFC West, we're finally here.
Yes. Sorry for.
Nope. It's one of the things that is like commonly known when you're on the Manely Broncos podcast. We like to deviate off course.
Perfect.
So the AFC West.
You guys are going to hate me.
Oh, why are we going to hate you?
I feel like we're all similar, though.
I mean, I'll just say it. I got the Chiefs winning.
Chiefs are winning.
I still think that they can also get the number 1 seed in the AFC. Even
with the Travis Kelce hyperextension of his knee, I mean, like that's not nothing. Like I know they said his ACL is intact, but like they're waiting on swelling to go down. That could have any number of implications. He turns 34 this year. Like he ain't young. But just Mahomes is just that fucking good. So yeah, I hate doing it, but I have to. I can't. I have to be somewhat realistic. I think they get win. I have the Chargers in second. That's why I hate it. I think it's the same as what I picked last year: is Chiefs, Chargers, us, and then the Raiders. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, we got a Matty.
We got this guy.
We got a Matty.
We just started the AFC West.
He's even flexing on us with the Colorado Rockies banner in the background. Wait, what else is down there? Oh, we got an Oklahoma Sooner banner. Oh, do I see some Broncos banners over there?
Yeah, all the Broncos.
How you doing, Matty?
I'm blessed. Can y'all hear me just fine?
We can.
Yeah. Yes, let's go. Just finished my fantasy draft. It didn't go the way I was hoping.
Who's your first pick?
Yeah, let's hear.
All right. So I was in the 5-hole.
Oh, God,
I got signed up for the 5-hole
I didn't like it.
3 days ago, and then Travis Kelce goes and hyperextends his knee. So he was.
I just thought about that.
I got the 5th pick because I was gonna go Kelce.
Please tell me you didn't take Cooper Kupp.
No, I didn't.
Go ahead.
But I could have done that, changed my name to 2 picks, 1 cup, or something like that. It would have been great.
I had Leonard Fournette last year. I had 4 Cooks, 1 cup.
Oh, that's great. So out of the 5-hole, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, Jahmyr Gibbs, DJ Moore, Justin Fields for the correlation. Jonathan Taylor in the 6th round. We'll see. Boom, bust. All the backs were taken. George Pickens, Brian Robinson, Michael Thomas, Odell Beckham, Tua to correlate with Tyreek, Gerald Everett, Cordell Patterson, and the Eagles defense. So, two flex, did my best. There's a lot of talent out there still. So we'll see. Lemons to lemonade, maybe. We'll see what happens. Certainly not super excited about my running back position. Hopefully Gibbs tears it up tomorrow and beats the hell out of Kansas City. And then I can trade him and double dip and get a running back and somebody else and go forward.
I would almost keep him. He's going to be really good. But I like that you have the stack of the quarterback and wide receiver of my AFC East winner.
So
Miami Dolphins.
So I will say, to fill people in, Matty, because we are just rounding out and we're getting to the AFC West. You have Buffalo, Miami, the Jets, the Patriots, and then in the I'll actually save the North because this is another pretty spicy take. But in the AFC South, you have, of course, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Indy, and then Houston. Mm-hmm. And then the AFC North. I want to give this one to you because it's a little bit different than what Brandon, myself, and John went with. But not just that, you went a little step further with this team.
Mm-hmm. So I have Baltimore winning the division. Not only do they win the division, they are the number 1 overall seed.
Ooh.
And a little teaser, because I bet you didn't get into these. They're a number 1 seed because Lamar Jackson is league MVP. He has never been surrounded by as much talent offensively as he is now. Flowers is the real deal. Whatever we make Judy out to be, that's what Flowers is. He gets separation. He's a matchup nightmare.
I took him in fantasy.
You have to basically have 1 and 1+1 on him. Except you got this guy Odell Beckham Jr. on the other side, who can do a lot of work. And then, by the way, Rashad Bateman. If you're not careful, he's going to beat you deep too. So a lot of stress on the defensive backs.
Mark Andrews, of course.
Mark Andrews, if he's healthy, eating in the middle, and even if he's not, likely is a very formidable guy to fill in, and he's likely going to be the one playing this week. But they don't need him against you. They won't need Andrews against Houston. They'll handle business. Dobbins is healthy. That's going to be great. That's going to put stress on the ends. Maybe they hold tight because they're worried about what's Dobbins doing. The defensive line's having to tuck in a little tighter because they're covering their gaps. And there's just a lot of things angle-wise, matchup-wise that Baltimore is going to be able to do. That's going to have defenses on skates all season. I bet you guys didn't get into the playoffs and all that. But,
not yet.
We're doing divisions.
But Baltimore just they have talent on the defensive side, but it's going to be a lot of shootouts. But Lamar got paid. There's nothing for him to be apprehensive about. When he's playing, loosey-goosey, it's over. And you can't spy him because, you got to stop. You got to get your run fits right. You got to worry about bracketing Andrews. You got guys that can go all over the place deep. You have to cover the entire field all the way down the field because he throws one of the best deep balls in football. It's just things are lining up beautifully for Lamar Jackson. Yeah. And then I've got Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland bringing up the rear because the Browns are going to Browns, and that's just how it goes.
Well, by the way, and it's worth noting, we didn't script this. We didn't script this like the NFL. Okay, Matty joining, and of course, joining in, and then us talking about the AFC West right now. We didn't script this, so this isn't like the NFL where we script things. Okay, so now with the AFC West, finally here, and we get a chance to talk about it. But Brandon led off with a little bit. He said that he has the Chargers finishing second, Denver finishing third, obviously, and Kansas City, of course, winning the division. I would imagine this is a sweep, of course, where we have Kansas City winning the division. But how do we have the rest of the division rounding out? Matty, since you just joined us, why don't you lead us off?
Kansas City wins the division until Patrick Mahomes retires or they are proven otherwise. Like, it's their division. I don't like it as much as y'all don't like it. Like, but that's just how it is. I drank I drank the orange Kool-Aid. Like, yeah, maybe Brittany and Jackson just send him off the deep end and he just gets he goes and commits himself. Like, we can only hope, right? Like, one man can only take so much of a beating at home. So like, that just is what it is. Like, Kansas City's got it on lock. Kelsey, no Kelsey, whatever. I've got Denver in the 2 spot. And the reason why is because if the Broncos had any semblance of an actual head coach last year, they're in this position too.
Mm-hmm.
And Peyton, like we've already talked about, game management stuff. Now we're seeing some ego personality management stuff. I don't know if you talked about stop kissing all the damn babies. You're not a politician.
Mm-hmm.
Let's play some football stuff. Like, that's true. And I think that some of that tough love is exactly what Peyton needs to offer for Russ. But I think Russ is willing to listen. He might not have been last year. He's certainly been humbled since then. The Chargers, they're just as talented as the Broncos, I think. They got so much talent. Hot take, I don't trust their head coaching. Kellen Moore is going to do a lot for them offensively, but I don't trust Staley. I don't trust when the lights are brightest that he's going to make the right decisions. And then F the Raiders all day, every day. McDaniels, I tweeted this today. I almost forgive Josh McDaniels for running the Broncos into the ground because of the way that he's run the Raiders into the ground. Yeah. And I'm like, guys can't even get in the practice facility. Chandler Jones, like one of their prize free agent signings
how did that happen?
From a year ago, is saying, I don't want to play for this GM, head coach, whatever you want to freaking call this guy. I don't want to play for him.
Wait, that was last year?
Yeah, he was their signing last.
Thing was from last year.
Yeah,
from last year. Yeah, and so like you got that situation going on. It's like, nobody wants to play for that guy. They got rid of Carr. That's the whole reason why Devontae Adams wanted to go there, was to play with Carr, and now he's stuck. Like, Jacobs is 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He's like, okay, I'm here, so I don't get fined, kind of. And like, we'll see what happens with that. Like, the whole situation's a dumpster fire, and it's glorious. I love it. They deserve it. Screw those guys.
So let's talk about the Chargers for a second, because I have them in second, but I don't know. It's just like, I feel like I have to, because Justin Herbert is just that.
Did Matty convince you?
That good.
Is that what you're trying to?
No, I'm keeping him in second, but because he's just that good. But this is where I was going to. The Chargers are Sisyphus. The whole organization is Sisyphus. Cursed to push the boulder up the hill and restart because they never actually get to the top.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Like, maybe during like the person who, the ancestor of Dean Spanos, like dropped a baby, or like did something like that incurred the wrath of, all-time immortal wrath or something. I don't know what happened, but like, it's actually hilarious how much the Chargers like Charger. But I saw him in second because Justin Herbert is just so good. Keenan Allen is still a very good wide receiver. I mean, Quentin Johnson, is a rookie, but he's also an incredibly talented wide receiver. Their offensive line is pretty good. Derwin James is an elite safety. Like,
Asante Samuel.
I really hate the way this division has shaped up, because why did we have to get Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert in our division? Fucking
Because we had
I hate it.
because we had John Elway for so long.
Because
and then
we
got Peyton
did
Manning.
something. It's us. We did something. We were cursed. We were the ones that were cursed. So then they give us the Raiders are just like
What about you, John?
the pity team.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of like Brandon. I'm very close with the Broncos and the Chargers being, deciding who's 2 and 3. I think it can go either way. Both are very similar talented teams. Like Matty was saying, I felt like their draft for the Chargers really is more about the future, even though it still helps them for this year. So they should be very fortunate when it comes to that. So I really feel like this is a kind of a toss up for me. And just knowing that we have Peyton coming in, for me, that's kind of the elevating factor. Having those coaching staff with that knows what they're doing, understands how to do this. They've done this for years. Even though it's, again, they're coming together for the first time as a group. I think, again, when a coaching staff can make a huge decision, I just feel like I'd rather trust the Broncos there. And I think when it comes to challenges, again, just making those small things, making the right calls there, I think the Broncos are going to get it right and be able to sneak in above and get that 2 seed.
Yeah, I just think that, Matty,
by the way, real quick, I have to say this on the Chargers. I remember I was speaking to some Chargers guys, and we saw Jimmy Garoppolo gets restructured. He gets $17 million in cap room and available, and they're getting excited. We're going to get a linebacker, something to help these guys. And it just helped them get out of the red because that's all they could do. So they were so excited to get a linebacker or something, and in the end, they were just out of the red.
So obviously I have Kansas City winning the division, but I'm with Matty, wholeheartedly on it, because like it's really got nothing against like the Chargers and with the team overall, because they're really talented. But at the end of the day, when you go up and down this team, if the roster is the same, what is the thing that puts them over the top? It's the coaching. And the fact that Sean Payton is there and not with the Chargers, which, by the way, he was supposed to be a Charger, right? That was the rumor. He was supposed to be a Charger, or he was supposed to be a Ram. He is not. And he is with the Denver Broncos, and we are very blessed and happy that he is the Denver Broncos head coach. And also, the Chargers do Charger a few games, and it's not just one game, it's a few games. And hopefully Kellen Moore can, rejuvenate Justin Herbert a little bit, get him, to where he can, be the Justin Herbert that we see on a regular basis, and, make it seem like he actually has earned the deal that he's been given. But, who knows? I mean, and I think at the end of the day, it's something that we talked about earlier. It's like, he was passed over for 2 head coaching cycles. Like, and maybe that was a reason. I mean, Eric Bieniemy was passed over numerous times, and he's been an offensive coordinator, and now he's an offensive coordinator again, and an assistant head coach with Washington. We'll get to the NFC a little bit later too. But I mean, the Chargers are just one where, is it enough where they can withstand something from Brandon Staley's ineptitude for them to get over the hump? That's the problem. And then for the Broncos, it's like you have a quarterback who is officially buying in to that coaching style of Sean Payton, the hard-nosed, disciplined coaching style, which is exactly what not just Russell Wilson needed, but the entire team needed. And they're buying in. They're clearly buying into the system. And I said it last night on the 5280 podcast. I will actually be the first person to say the record prediction between the 4 of us, but I said 11-6 last night. I said the Broncos will go 11-6. And I do have them finishing second in this division. And yeah, I absolutely think that the Chargers will be finishing third. The Raiders will be finishing in last.
The Raiders will be finishing in Raider.
I got to address something. You said hopefully Kellen Moore can get Justin Herbert to playing where he needs to play. I say bump that. Hate. I hate you. I wish that everything bad happens to you and nobody else but you. Like the Dave Chappelle, like player haters ball. Like screw the entire AFC West.
I don't
like
think that's in Cam's DNA. He just can't say it though. Even if it's not in the DNA.
Then I'll say it for him. I'll be
there we go.
Like screw those guys. You know what I mean? Like Austin Eckler don't want to play for y'all anymore either. Like he wants to
He'll
go
be
get the bag.
he'll be a Bronco in this next offseason.
Hey,
yeah,
UNC,
I mean,
yeah.
Justin Herbert's a stud.
Sure.
They got a lot of talent, but like, yeah, like I hope Kellen Moore and him just like, I hope he bumps into him in the hallway one day and just like they hold a grudge like the rest of their tenure. I don't know.
We should address this. So Travis mentions this point. He says, I really wanted to work out with Russ, and but something tells him he's on a shorter leash than maybe we may believe, and that Payton didn't draft him. And I will say this: if that's the case, and you see Stidham more often than you should, the Broncos are in trouble. Like I actually mean, like the Broncos are in absolute trouble if you see Jarrett Stidham playing fairly more snaps than we're let on.
Why do you say that?
Because your investment in Russell Wilson and everything that you've seen with him, and
okay, let me back up for a second. Obviously, if you see him playing more snaps, we're in trouble because Russell Wilson's obviously not it, and the season is probably over. But I don't think we can out-tank the Cardinals is the problem.
You can't even out-tank the Patriots.
That's why I think we're in I agree that I think we're in trouble, but I think it's a different reason.
Well, and Peyton's going to have us at least competitive. We'll be in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. Like you say out-tanking like a handful of teams, like we're going to be in the middle of the pack. The capital that it takes to move up that high to get a guy from like pick 15, for instance, that's not what Peyton signed up for. We're trading our capital for veterans that can help us win now, unless like there was a freak thing and we were in position to get a May who didn't look great against South Carolina, or Caleb's certainly not going to be on the table. So I think that makes it more difficult. If we see Stidham at all, like that's bad. Right.
Yeah.
Like that's no bueno. Let me say this to the Peyton didn't draft Russell Wilson. While that's true, Peyton did sign off on coming here, understanding that Russell Wilson was the quarterback and understanding the financial investment that the team made in him. So in a way, he did choose Russell Wilson because he chose this job.
Well,
he didn't, let it on like Ellis did, in the sense that, hey, we're doing this to sell the team. No, he still is about his contract and developing the team and making them Super Bowl winners, George Payton, versus, selling the team when he brought in Russ. So I don't think that was a factor at all either.
We should also even care to point out that not only did Russell Wilson want to be a New Orleans Saint with Sean Payton, but Sean Payton would have probably signed off on the idea of him being a New Orleans Saint when Drew Brees decided to move on. So this obviously goes even well beyond the idea that they possibly have wanted each other for quite some time. So Lance, when you brought up the babies comment, Matty, Lance Sanderson chimes in and he says he thinks the reasoning for Payton going to the national media and not the local guys is for motivation. He's bringing out skeletons and he's trying to motivate his team to actually bury them. And, especially with Russ. And I think that's my thinking as far as like with the whole Russell Wilson comment when he came out and he mentioned what he did in terms of, let's kind of just focus on the season, if you will. I mean, that's kind of how I took it. Like, it isn't so much him, hating on Russell Wilson. I know that there's been, some of that talk on social media. It's more about, how can he focus more about his on-field product and less about his brand. It's not disrespecting his brand. It's just, let's focus on the main thing at hand, which is that on-field product. What he said there is nothing new to him, talking about wearing bucket hats on the sideline, not taking interviews on the sideline during a preseason game. That is the same way to interpret that than it would this quote, because it's simply just, let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to playing football. Let's get back to that brand of Denver Broncos football that won us those back-to-back Super Bowls and won that Super Bowl 50 championship. So let's get back to that. And in order to do that, you have to form a better product on the field.
100%.
Josh, I think if the Raiders come in week 1 and sweep us with Jimmy Garoppolo, then we can out-tank the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right. So as now has been said, we all have Kansas City winning. With a little twist, obviously, Brandon is the only one having the Chargers finish second. So let's
Said you guys are going to hate me.
We don't hate you.
But remember, I said I kind of can feel what you're saying.
I can't not do it. He's too good.
All right. So now let's move over to the NFC and start now with the NFC South. We started with the AFC South. Let's start with the NFC South. We'll go from south to north and east, and of course the West, which also seems fitting. We would end with the West, considering Russell Wilson was a former Seahawk, so we might as well just finish with the the NFC West. So I don't know, just seems fitting. So the NFC South, the one where you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield. Is he back? I don't know. Do you have the New Orleans Saints? Maybe the team to win that division, or you have a team that's like the Carolina Panthers with a Bryce Young, a Frank Reich, and a young and also nice mixture of veteran and young coaches on that coaching staff, with a pretty sneaky defense with J.C. Horn, Jeremy Chin, Brian Burns, and others, of course, on that defense. And then you have the other team in that division, of course, the Atlanta Falcons, the skill players of that division. What's going to become of them? Is Desmond Ridder going to be the guy that's going to take that team over the top? Are they going to win and win that division? Because it certainly seems like, if you look at it from the Panthers' perspective and the Falcons' perspective, they need really good quarterback play in order for them to certainly supplant the New Orleans Saints and win that division.
I think there's one good quarterback at this division, and he plays for the Saints.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts a lot. That really hurts me to hear that, because there's a certain guy who played for that university. I think that you're not wrong about Tampa.
This is not scripted, by the way.
But Baker Mayfield.
I'm sorry, I can't slam an OU guy. I was a huge Baker Mayfield fan when he was coming out of OU. I wanted him in Denver.
He was a Jarvis Landry fumble away from beating the Chiefs in the playoffs and going to the AFC Championship game. People forget that. Landry fumbled the ball at the goal line against Kansas City. That would have been curtains.
I just think Derek Carr is better.
Baker Mayfield will have his best season. Oh, Derek Carr, and he's in
Derek
a better
Carr
situation for
sure.
sure.
A top 12 quarterback. Baker Mayfield isn't. It's that simple. I do think Baker Mayfield has a good season, or a decent season. I don't know about
how are things going with Mike Evans?
Todd Bowles.
So
as
the Mike Evans situation is very interesting, because it seems as though he has an injury, but he might be milking it for leverage. He really wants an extension. I think he wants that extension to come from Tampa. He's not just doing it just to secure the bag. I think he loves being there. He wants to do something which is rare and spend your whole career with one organization. That being said, the trade smoke is very, very hot right now. The team I'm hearing most is the Giants potentially doing a deal to bring him in, which makes a ton of sense, because they just paid Daniel Jones. They aren't paying Saquon a ton of long-term money. So I think that makes sense, but this is all like negotiating. I don't think he's as hurt as like some of the reports have let on. It's giving him an out so that he can actually like milk it so he doesn't get hurt, and he could potentially like actually hurt, and he could move on to another team, or at least threaten that. This is the last bit of leverage he has.
Mike Evans in the New York Giants locker room would be like Derrick Henry sitting next to Deion Lewis. But that's interesting. I mean, I really like Mike Evans. I think if he stays in Tampa, I do think he will have yet another 1,000-yard season, because that's the one thing. Like Baker likes to throw it deep, and he'll just say, "F it, Mike Evans is down there somewhere. Mike Evans will catch it." But I mean, I do like Baker Mayfield. Okay, the way I have it right now, I have the Saints winning because I just think Derek Carr is better. The only thing that I have questions about with the Saints, just like I know nothing about Dennis Allen. I don't know if he's a good head coach. I don't know if he can do anything. Like, I just have no clue. I actually have the Falcons in second.
Ooh, that is spicy. That I
all the
think
spice,
is your spiciest
all the
take.
jalapeno. That's spicier than Miami winning the East.
I need to think about it.
Okay.
But that
me-
came off
let me-
immediately for me.
Let me explain. I do like Arthur Smith. Desmond Ridder, I don't think he could be worse. I think he'll take a step. And again, like, I think Derek Carr's the best quarterback of the division. Desmond Ridder takes a step. I mean, you have Bryce Young, but he's a rookie. I don't know. The reason I have the Falcons second is last year they had the most rushing yards in the league. They are a run team. I'm sorry, I should call them the Atlanta Bijan Robinsons, because Bijan Robinson is the only reason I have them in second, because he is going to tear it up. He might go toe to toe with it'll be funny. So we'll get into awards, but I'm just going to give you guys just like a little teaser. I have Chris McCaffrey winning as Offensive Player of the Year because I think he can go 1,000 again. And I have Bijan Robinson winning Offensive Rookie of the Year because I think he could also go 1,000 because he's that good. That's the only reason I have the Falcons in second place is they're just going to give the ball to Bijan Robinson 350 times. And he's going to do Bijan Robinson things.
I just feel for Tyler Algier, I think his name was.
He's good too.
He's really good. I just kind of feel for
Patterson,
him.
The Joker. Did you guys see that? They listed him on the depth chart as a Joker position, and he ran with it, and he made the Joker his Twitter profile picture. And I look Cordell Patterson. Their whole running back room is really good. I just think like Bijan Robinson is in another league, and they took him 7th overall. Like you don't do that and not. Like he's literally the closest thing to Christian McCaffrey since Christian McCaffrey was taken 8th overall by their division rival.
They even lined him up in the slot.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, I mean, you take a guy as high as they did, you got to get him on the field. But having him and Algier, like if you're just saying get our best talent out on the field, like having both of those guys and maybe you got
Algier in the backfield and Bijan Robinson in the slot, same
in the
play.
slot. And you bring 84 in motion, like
actually it'd be so fun.
Like, what does the safety do? And then who's who's paying attention to Kyle Pitts? Like,
my God, Kyle Pitts, man.
Yeah,
Kyle Pitts is in the pits, man. I feel so bad for that guy.
The Algier and Bijan comparison, we'll talk about maybe a surprise team in the NFC North, but like it almost actually rings in terms of comparing what the Detroit Lions might do with Jahmyr Gibbs, like because you have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, so you could use almost Gibbs and Montgomery in like different situations where Gibbs is out wide and Montgomery's the one that's actually behind the quarterback. So it's like that same type of example. And
they took Gibbs 12th overall, I think. So they're gonna he's gonna be part of that offense.
So
a big part of that offense.
I have the Saints winning this. But I actually will say that Carolina finishes second.
Ooh. All right. Well, I have the Saints as well. This one gets harder for me. You guys made a real strong case for the Falcons. I hate to say it, but I was swayed.
Dark side.
I was swayed. I will go put the Falcons at 2.
I'm the salesman.
You guys swayed me.
Dolphins and Falcons, come on.
And then I think Tampa Bay and Carolina will be very similar, low end, kind of, bottom end teams, to be honest.
Well,
Matty is heartbroken.
I'm sorry. There could be a lot of things to do with him being drafted, Baker Mayfield being drafted to Cleveland, and I just resented him because of that. What can you do?
If they lose Mike Evans, I'm sorry, but it's over.
No, I agree. The Bucs they're gonna suck.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a
Tampa
lot of
Bay
issues.
Buccaneers this year for sure. I have Atlanta in third in that division. Hot take: Kyler Murray is going to be the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons next year.
Ooh. Kyler Murray and Bijan Robinson, holy shit!
And
that
Drake London.
Drake London's gonna have take a step.
Oh yeah, how did we Drake London?
I totally forgot about Drake London.
Kyle Pitts and Drake London, they had so many chances when they were open, very
I
open
feel-
in the
okay.
NFL, and just couldn't get the balls. to
Kyle
them. And
Pitts.
so-
Kyle Pitts is living in hell. I feel so bad for Kyle
Um,
Pitts. He's such a supremely talented tight end, and every time I watch him play, every single catch he gets, the ball is like 4 feet outside of his body.
Yeah.
It's like
Nothing you can do.
disgusting.
I want Kyler Murray there so bad. That's going to be fun.
That would
That'd be a good
wild.
home for him.
Listen,
That would be fun. With
um,
Arthur Smith's offense, I want it. Manifest.
But so Matty, you were going to say you may be with me, right?
So, coach of Carolina, Frank, has played really well as a player. Brought the Bills back from one of the biggest deficits in NFL history to beat the Oilers. That was great. Coordinator all the way up, and then Indy and all the things that happened there, and Irsay is a joke of an owner and all that. The Third Reich's not happening yet, but
Luckily for me.
maybe next year he's going to be in a position to really compete, because like New Orleans has a lot going for them this year. They get a little bit older next year. There's a lot of talent. They got to figure out the Brian Burns situation in Carolina for sure. Now that Bosa's settled, that gives them some type of anchor or benchmark. They shouldn't pay him $35 million like the 49ers paid Bosa, but like $35 million a year. But so that's big. But like Bryce Young's a dude. They got Hubbard. They got Miles Sanders if he can stay healthy. Bryden Hurst, who's going to be a good blanket for them. Their offensive line should be really good. Their defense can be sticky and they're physical. You don't maybe see the Carolina sign there. So they have a certain defensive back who's a stud for them moving forward in Horn. So they have a lot going for them. But man, New Orleans is definitely the class of that division. They have way too much talent on that team. Michael Thomas looks like he's
Chris
back.
Olave could challenge for Offensive Player of the Year.
He was rated the most efficient player route run and win percentage against man coverage
He's
last
stupid
year.
good.
Michael Thomas is back to his old ways. Jawan Johnson, the guy they have at tight end, is a stud. They got Taysom Hill at quarterback, but he fits everywhere too. It's
Until
just
the Broncos traded for him.
they're going to get Kamara back after 3 weeks. Jamal Williams led the league in rushing touchdowns last year. Like, it's just there's a lot going for that team. Yeah, and we spent a lot of time on the NFC South, but it is a pretty fun division.
Yeah.
But for Carolina, I will say, in this division, I will say your offensive rookie of the year will come out of this division.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I have Carolina.
I already said it.
But I will.
I called.
Nope. No, but I'm saying that's why Carolina is second.
Oh. All right.
Gotcha.
All right. You're wrong
like,
though. But all right.
But I'm just saying, like, when you have a quarterback-driven league,
Just kidding.
Bryce Young will prove to be that dude, and I think that with the kind of performance that he can have with Frank Reich and that kind of offense, he will show why he was the first quarterback taken and why they made the decision that they did to hold off and make people panic of like, are they going to go C.J. Stroud? Are they going to go Anthony Richardson?
Who is he throwing to though? The ghost of Adam Thielen?
No, and not DJ Chark.
I mean, DJ Chark will be good.
Jonathan Mingo's a player now.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's a rookie. Laviska Shenault is still in the league, and he's a Panther wide receiver, which blast from the past.
You going to my heart.
But anyway, I think we're going to see a season with Bryce Young. There's a reason why Frank Reich invested in this kind of quarterback, and I think you will see, especially an organization that is invested in Reich and this coaching staff, and of course the young quarterback. So I think you will see Carolina surprise a lot of people, and that's why they'll finish second. And Bryce Young will be the offensive rookie of the year. So moving on to this one is quite fascinating because you have probably the talk of the town of the entire NFL. They kick off, of course, against the Kansas City Chiefs tomorrow, and some feel, depending on who you talk to, of course, I would imagine they're Lions fans, think they're going to upset the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't see that happening. But I will say
I will be a Lions fan.
But the Detroit Lions are certainly a team to watch out for. It's a team on the rise. So many people had questions for Dan Campbell, a Sean Payton protege, by the way. But I mean, so many people had questions for the Detroit Lions. But I think one of the things that really caught my eye from the Lions' perspective was when Ben Johnson decided to return to Detroit, the offensive coordinator for the Lions. He was a hot name in this.
Really good offensive coordinator.
He was a hot name in this coaching cycle, and he decided to step back and go back to Detroit. Why did he do that? Well, because he's got a young nucleus that's there with Amon St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs. Jamison Williams is gone for a few games, but he'll be back.
Is it 8 or 6?
I think it's six games.
Okay.
I mean, you have a defense that is on the rise. They signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I mean, their
offensive line is really good.
Yeah, it's a lot of potential with that. The defense, the offensive line. They drafted Jack Campbell. They drafted Sam Laporta. They're basically going to the Iowa DNA on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I mean, so I think that if there's one,
bite some kneecaps, man.
If you look at what this team is, they're going to be a physical team. They're going to be a physical team. And I called it yesterday, but I had the Broncos losing to the Lions.
That's good. Dude, the Lions last year being like one of the most fun teams to watch in the league came out of left field, but I'm so here for it. Lions are winning the NFC North. By far, I have them winning the NFC North.
By far?
By far. I mean,
Even over
I think the
Minnesota?
Vikings are what? I do think the Vikings, I have the Vikings in second, but I just think the Lions are on a tear and they're just going to keep going. Jahmyr Gibbs is an incredible talent. They're just going to continue doing what they did last year. And it's going to be so much fun. Like, I am so happy for Lions fans that have been faithful Lions fans that have been around for like so long, because they had Matthew Stafford for like a decade, who was very good. I don't know if he was over there. He felt like a decade. He was there for, he was their rock, and he was so underrated, but the rest of the team around him was absolute garbage. He had no defense. He had no offensive line. He barely ever had a running back. And now the Lions are like, Jared Goff is sneaky good. Like, it's kind of weird. He's kind of he kind of had like a Ryan Tannehill career resurrection, a Geno Smith career resurrection. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have 200 targets. Sam Laporta is going to get involved. He's a very, very talented physical tight end. Like they could put him in the slot. Actually,
he's part of a deep tight end class.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're gonna win the North.
John, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go the same way. I've been on the Detroit Lions kind of feel for 2 years. I'm not going to stop now. I feel like, for me, of course, I have ties with Glasgow being a Lion.
You're still biased.
So, of course, I'm biased. But, it's also there's a lot going on. It sounds like a lot of good things. I think Gibbs is going to have similar kind of numbers as Robinson, honestly. I think they're going to be very close in how they play them. And I'm excited to see how they're used. That line is definitely going to be improved. I think Ragnow, thank you. Great center. They have a good offensive line. That's what I had coming
now.
For me for a second.
Rock.
Yeah. But again,
coming with the Kratos beard and give him the MVP.
That's what we'll do. And so for me, I see a lot of good things coming out of with the Lions. They got rid of Okuda and were able to kind of be able to replenish that cornerback position, even though it was a concern early on for them. I really like, again, what they did. I thought they were going to go cornerback, but it seems like, again, they had this idea with Gibbs that he's going to be used as a pass catcher, for running. He's going to be used a ton. And then similar, I have Minnesota in second place. They're going to be a high flying team, in that North with Justin Jefferson as well with Kirk Cousins.
I have more jalapenos here in a minute, but you get Cam and Matty go first.
Matty, you want to go?
Sure. Okay. Wet blanket time. So the Detroit Lions are the darlings. Like they're every like smart guy, like trendy pick for a team that can, do some damage, right? And I don't dislike the Lions. They're a team I want to root for. Dan Campbell, like he's a guy that I would want to run through a wall for, right? Like, let's go. Jared Goff resurgence last year, kind of an FU to McVay, like, oh, you're the quarterback whisperer, you know everything about offense. You couldn't get the best out of me, and I freaking went to Dan Campbell, and look what he got out of me.
Watch Jared Goff have a better season than Matthew Stafford next year. That would just be something. But go ahead.
Well, except for this. The most Jekyll and Hyde quarterback in the NFL when it comes to home road splits is Goff. So when you look at that, you have to be able to win on the road to take that next step. You can defend the home, and that's great. That's step one. But can you win on the road? And his performance on the road isn't the best. Say what you want about that, 1 p.m. time slot for Kirk Cousins. But
so what if it's Jared Goff playing in Minnesota at a 1 p.m.
and like it's curtains, like it's Kirkins at that point. Like I should take my shirt off and just freaking like so. The thing is, and this is no shade, Josh. Much love to you. The heat and the smoke that Kirk Cousins gets for his primetime record, like his performance in primetime and playoff games is right on par, if not better, than one Burrow, who everybody seems to love, the guy who, is a stud in his own right. And I'm not saying Kirk is better than Burrow, but like, let's be real. There's a lot of team things that go into that. Kirk Cousins isn't the one giving up like 30 points per game. In those games, Kirk is keeping them in it, and then he makes one mistake out of like 38 or 39 pass attempts, and everybody wants to crucify the guy for it. Like, they wouldn't be in that position if it wasn't for him. That's a long way of saying that Minnesota won a lot of close games, and there's something to be said about a team that knows how to win in close games. Detroit hasn't taken that step yet, and they certainly haven't done so on the road. Minnesota has. And say what you want about Kirk Cousins, he can perform and at least put his team in position to win. At home, on the road, when the lights are bright, when they're not. And I think that's the difference in this division. Two other guys in that division. We're talking about Love, who just finally now got the keys to the car. I think he's going to be great. I think there's a lot to be excited for in Green Bay. They made the right decision to move on from Rodgers and move on to him. Both of their top two receivers are dealing with hamstring injuries right now, and those things could linger. And so who the hell is he going to throw the ball to? Reed himself is a rookie. What are they going to do? Run the wishbone with Dylan and Aaron Jones? Like, I just don't see.
And you got the young tight end Luke Musgrave down there,
right? And then that brings me to Chicago Bears, which I talked about my fantasy team. They're going to be very exciting offensively. Their defense is going to leave a lot to be desired. They can get into some shootouts this year. Justin Fields was the right pick. I don't think that Justin Fields would have been the right pick over Patrick Surtain for us. So before Broncos country comes at me, like, we did the right thing there. But like, this is Minnesota's division until it's not, and so like that has to count for something.
So
let me just throw my spice in because you already brought it up, and then I'll let you go.
Brandon's just scared I'm going to steal it.
No. So I was already going to say that I was going to bring up the Minnesota record. So my extra spice here was I almost had the Bears taking second over the Vikings. I still had the Vikings taking it. The Vikings had 11 one-score games last year, and they won all 11 of them. Positive and negative regression is a thing. That's not going to happen again. All of their losses were by at least a margin of 11 points. So they got really, really lucky in all their wins, and then their losses were somewhat blowouts. I just don't think that's happening again. I think if it goes that way again, maybe split it. Even if you split it 50-50, they're going to lose half those games. Like, you can't. I understand. Like, I get your point, and I don't disagree with you about, like, there's something to be said for a team that can get out of that and win the one-score game. But you have to also agree that some of that is kind of just luck. To be honest, like, that's an insane number of games to win by 1 point. That's all I'm going to say. So
I will say I have Minnesota winning the division, but this is the softer division comparison of the AFC East. So I have I had the Buffalo Bills winning the division, right? But the Miami Dolphins being the playoff darlings, the surprise team that no one would want to face in the playoffs, right? I think in the NFC North, you will have Minnesota win the division, but I think that Detroit is going to be one of those teams that does sneak into the playoffs and is that team. But because of their physical style, their physical presence, I don't know if a team would want to face that in the playoffs. So they will get into the playoffs. Now, here's my spice. It's not the Chicago Bears who will finish last in the division. It's the Green Bay Packers. I'm not giving any sort of love to Jordan Love. I want him to prove it. I want him to prove it to me that, because in terms of the Green Bay Packers situation, and you want to talk about luck or whatever, but, it certainly goes to show that the Packers have had a lot of success going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and of course, this being their third starting quarterback since 1993. I want them to prove it one more time again, that Jordan Love is going to be that kind of guy going forward. And, they basically threw all their chips in the basket and drafted Jordan Love. They're finally going to get a chance to see that to fruition. I think the Packers, and of course the Christian Watson injury, the Romeo Doubs injury, that's not, ideal certainly to start the season. And I think that they're really going to struggle this season. And I have the Green Bay Packers finishing dead last in that division, and Chicago is third in that division.
I also have them last.
I got Chicago last.
Okay. So Detroit.
Just say you hate Jalen, or just say you hate
Justin Fields. No,
Justin Fields.
I think there's something to be said about those shootouts and how they're going to have to really, like you said, Matty, just have to outgun every single team essentially in those games. And I don't think you can do that too often with the Bears, with their defense.
Well, the thing I love about Minnesota is you have Kevin O'Connell, who's an offensive genius, underrated under offensive genius, finished third, by the way, in the Broncos head coaching cycle, or second, depending on who you talk to. But I think that when you give them Jordan Addison, who was another player that they felt like was wide receiver 1 next to Zay Flowers.
Jordan Addison's going to kill it.
I mean, think of what Adam Thielen did with Justin Jefferson a few years ago. This is a young wide receiver with nearly an impeccable route tree next to Justin Jefferson.
So smooth.
I mean, I would not be surprised if you have Jordan Addison like in that same kind of vein that you see what you saw with the duo of Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson for that period.
And speaking of Iowa tight ends, TJ Hawkinson.
Money.
And he was a stud for them after the trade last year.
Yeah.
The only thing that
And he looked like a Viking.
The only thing that I think would help carry the load and take it off of Kirk Cousins is that running game. Madison needs to prove that he's that kind of guy going forward. Because it seems like Minnesota's finally decided to cave in, give it to their youth, do what they should have done with guys like Mike Boone early on, show the love to Alexander Madison. Let's see what happens. So that's going to be a big thing.
For all you fantasy owners who have Madison, Billy Madison is a great fantasy team name, so you should just go with that.
So moving on to the NFC East, the most unpredictable division, or at least that's what history has always told us, the most unpredictable division maybe in all of football. But is it so anymore? I think that's the question.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure
about that? That's right. So why don't you lead this one off, John?
I think the cream has risen to the top. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think anyone really has much to say different. I mean, again, the Eagles, they seem to just win in the draft, getting players to fall to them, and able to, again, rotate their guys in and have them in healthy situations. It just feels like they're able to win on so many different levels when it comes to the offseason that just doing it now that's the task. Now you have everything set up. If things go your way, just now it's time to do the task. And that's what I see with the NFC East. Otherwise, the other teams just kind of feel kind of like moot, kind of meddling, kind of mid teams. They don't feel like they're going to be at least in the conversation for a title or anything like that. I definitely don't have any of those teams going ahead into the playoffs, at least in my opinion.
Brandon? Oh, he's trying to act smart. He put on his glasses. He's trying to be like John and Matty over here. He's got to look smart now. He's got to put on
my blue light glasses. I'm trying to save my eyes. Dweeb.
No, those are good if those are the blue light ones. Yeah,
Yeah, they
there
are.
you go.
I don't.
Smart man.
That's what it's for. Yeah, I also have the Eagles winning. I mean, and it's not close. I've seen a surprising amount of people think that the Cowboys are going to win, and I just don't think that's possible. To be honest with you,
I would have the.
I mean, I like the Cowboys. Have them coming in second.
Yeah.
I still think Dak is good. I don't think he's great. I don't know what is he gonna cut down the interceptions that he's kind of like just become sort of prone to. I think Tony Pollard is an incredible running back. Like, I'm excited to see him get out there and have more snaps. I have the Giants in third, like Daniel Jones. It's kind of mid, but he's like, he can run somehow. Like, who knew that? Saquon Barkley obviously still exists. Brian Daboll is an incredible coach. I don't know, but I just think like it's in this case, it's the Eagles division until it's not the Eagles division. And I think it's going to be the Eagles division for a very long time. Like Jalen Hurts, if he continues to be the Jalen Hurts that we've seen, he's probably going to go down as the best second round quarterback of all time. And spoiler alert, I have him as my MVP.
Okay.
Drew Brees was a second rounder, right? Was it Drew Brees?
He was.
I think Drew Brees. I thought Drew Brees was 30. He was a second rounder. Okay. I'm still going to say that it could happen, but I think Drew Brees obviously has it locked down for now.
What a draft that
Drew Brees
was.
was the first round pick.
No, they went
I forgot
LaDainian.
about that.
They went LaDainian in the first round and then got Drew Brees in the second round.
That might be the best duo actually ever.
Pretty.
Of first and second.
Pretty good.
Okay, I forgot Drew Brees was a second round pick, but Jalen Hurts could be number 2.
Okay. So I will say Philly as well. I think Philly wins that division. I mean, it's pretty evident, that, where that team is, and it's all because of the NFL MVP of 2023, and that is Jalen Hurts. I think that if you look at it and everything that he's evolved to, I mean, Matty knows this because we've had this conversation before, even on Manely before, but like I called him to a certain extent what Dak Prescott was coming into the NFL, and he's actually exceeded that. And I think that many people forgot how elusive he was outside the pocket, or better yet, I think people and this is the most important part, forgot how accurate he was when he's throwing the football. And you don't need a prime example. And so any Broncos fan that is in the chat and watching this currently right now, I hate to bring up a really bad memory, but it wasn't, a fluke. It wasn't anything like that, but go call up that Denver Broncos game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Hurts was dialing us up left and right. Devontae Smith, Pat Surtain had great coverage, and Hurts put it where only Devontae Smith can make that catch. And that is the epitome of what Hurts is right now on a regular, consistent basis. The Philadelphia Eagles made the smart decision of rolling the dice with Jalen Hurts, and it has paid huge dividends for them to go to the Super Bowl. They are a heavy run team, but also a well-schemed team. With the way that I think what is it? Yeah, Ben Johnson in Detroit and Brian Johnson with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, those are two household names that are going to end up being head coaches in some sort of cycle, whether next year or the year after that. Philadelphia is in a class of their own in that division. Hurts is the NFL MVP. I hate to play a spoiler on that one, but I mean, go Sooners. To take it over to Matty, but the Philadelphia Eagles will win that division, and the Giants will finish third. The where it gets tricky for me is the Giants and the Commanders, because the Commanders are a really tight and tough defensive team, But what is Sam Howell going to give me? Is he going to be the quarterback 56 that he was in the NFL draft coming out of North Carolina? I mean, yeah. So who knows? I mean, I don't know what we're going to get out of him. I'm very curious what we're going to get in year 2 with Brian Dable and the New York Giants. Yep. And will they be a playoff team? That's what I'm kind of curious of, even if they finish 3rd in the division.
Right.
So the Georgia-Delphia Beagles are going to win the division. You have the best team in college football for 2 years straight. Just take those guys.
Happen? Yeah.
It's simple. Why do we make things more difficult? Like, oh, that defense was good. They know how to play together. They're physical. They shut down all this NFL talent. Screw it. Let's just go get those guys. Nakobe Dean falls. Great. Let's go get him. Davis is a freaking athletic specimen of an alien. Like, let's go do that. Like, it doesn't have to be more difficult than that.
Oh, by the way, let's trade for DeAndre Swift. Like, because we need a running back.
Sure, because why not? And it's very, very simple, right? They've done that. You can know what they're doing, and they still are going to win. Because man for man, they're going to be able to beat you on either side of the line. Yeah. And their quarterback can beat you in short yardage, and you can't account for the extra guy. You just can't. And oh, by the way, they have a Heisman-winning wide receiver who's an afterthought in that offense because of A.J. Brown and how studly he is, and Dallas Goedert and how studly he is. Like, it's just ridiculous the amount of talent that they've been able to amass.
No, by the way, Alberto Coelho.
And their offensive line depth is disgusting.
Oh, yeah, and they have the best tight end in NFL history in Ocho Cinco or whatever he's going to go by there. Like, it's just, man, I'm jealous of what they've got cooking in Philly because it looks like a dynasty just ready to happen. They should have won the Super Bowl last year, that holding call. While maybe it was right, it wasn't what they were calling all game. It's bananas how that ended up working out. But
Jalen Hurts was the best player on that field in that Super Bowl. Like,
he's going to get his revenge, and the rest of that division is just going to have to just take their medicine because like Jalen Hurts is going to come out nuts. So
if the Eagles can shut down the Chiefs for the rest of time, I will go to Philadelphia and flip cars with riot people.
and they're like, I don't know it's not hunter green, but whatever that green is. Heather green or whatever it's called, like it's gorgeous. Like those throwbacks, those Randall Cunningham throwbacks, just sign me up for that all day, every day. Those are beautiful, and they're going to be winning a lot of games in those jerseys. So I said that Lamar Jackson is the league MVP, but he's not going to be the Super Bowl MVP because the Super Bowl MVP plays quarterback in Philly. And I have a pretty decent track record overall on being able to sniff this out. So Jalen Hurts, unlike Cam Newton, when Jalen Hurts gets hit, he just gets stronger and he just gets angrier, right?
He also probably dies for football too. I mean,
and like he's David Banner and he turns into the Hulk and then you just lost it. So yeah, it's on like Donkey Kong, and it's not even close in the NFC. It's Philadelphia 50 feet of crap, and then the rest of the conference.
All right. So Philadelphia is the supreme winner. Now, the NFC West. This actually might be a little bit easy to predict.
I think this is the easiest one.
Super simple.
Yeah. What used to be the hardest division in football, and what point in time, with Russell Wilson, a quarterback, mind you, of that division, it seems like, and I mean, I will run through this, and you guys tell me if I'm spot on. I mean, we're going to go with San Francisco, Seattle, Rams, and the tanking Arizona Cardinals.
Cardinals should trade for Tank Dell and Tank Bigsby.
Who may not even draft Caleb Williams because he wants to go to
go back to school. Dude, if they end up with the number 1 pick and he goes back to school, that'll be amazing.
No, not just the number 1 pick, the number 1 and 2 pick, because they
like. But at that point, they have to trade out of it and then take Drake May at 2 and move on. Like, what?
Hey, we'll give you Russell Wilson.
Deal, yeah,
for the first overall pick.
Hot take. I said this in the predominantly orange chat. It was spicy. Russell Wilson, PS2 and 2 first-round picks for Caleb Williams.
But you have to phrase what the question was, though, Matty. Is that like, would you would you want a playoffs in 2023, or would you want a chance at tanking for the number 1 overall pick to get, and guaranteeing you that you'll get Caleb Williams?
Give me the guy who is as talented as everybody thought that Trevor Lawrence was.
Wait. So the question is either get to the playoffs or be guaranteed to get Caleb Williams.
No, you are guaranteed to get Caleb Williams because you tanked.
Give me Caleb Williams. It's not even a question.
All day, every day.
We haven't gotten to the playoffs in 7 years. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I was born in the dark, raised in it, molded by it.
You were merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
All right, so we're done with the divisions, the playoff, wild card, Super Bowl representatives. So, John, let's roll with you. The wild card representatives out of the AFC and NFC.
All right, in no particular order, I'm going to go with Denver. I'm going to go with Miami. And you guys convinced me, even though I didn't think I would at first, I'm going to go with Baltimore, even though I didn't have them in there at first. So going Baltimore.
4 eyes over there in the bottom right. Brandon, how you doing? Who's your AFC and NFC playoff teams?
Chargers, Bills, and Ravens for AFC. Do you want me to do NFC too?
Yeah, and NFC, sure, yeah.
All right. Cowboys, Seahawks, Vikings.
Okay. Matty?
You want to give your NFC picks real quick since you just gave AFC?
Yeah, I'll give my NFCs real quick. Yeah. Seattle, I also have Minnesota Vikings, and I think Dallas as well. It just sneaks in there as the team that just gets the benefit of beating up some of the other Commanders, basically.
Sam Howell.
Okay. My AFC is Cincinnati, Miami, and Denver in that order. And then in the NFC, it's Dallas, Seattle, and the Giants.
Gotcha.
Okay. So in the NFC for me, I have Dallas, Seattle, and Detroit because I spoke about Detroit earlier. So I say Dallas, Seattle, and Detroit. And then on the AFC, I have Baltimore, Miami, and Denver as far as the wild card. Now, on the Super Bowl side of things, do we get a rematch? Do we get a rematch of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles? Who is the Super Bowl representative?
Hell
no.
No, we get Joe Cool versus Jalen Hurts.
Oof.
Okay, did you seal that for me, or did you really think that?
No, that's literally what I picked.
Okay, so we're in simpatico. Okay,
I was gonna say because that's literally what I was gonna choose, but I mean,
I wanted to do something different and go out there on a limb. Honestly,
Detroit Lions against the Miami Dolphins. Let's ride,
dude.
I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh shit!
And versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh my gosh.
We buying into the Jaguars.
We're buying into the Jags. They're going to when it comes to the playoffs, it's craziness. I think that they're going to have the right coach. You have Trevor Lawrence possibly, again, taking that next step. Let's see if he can do it. If if it's not Hurts, maybe Trevor Lawrence can be the MVP, even though I still think it's Hurts. It would take a huge leap of faith. I get this. We're taking a leap of faith here, but take it with me and let's go Jags.
We love a leap of faith. That's right. So I'm guessing with that, maybe that was the spice of the night. I mean, Brandon's been bringing spice all night.
Just kidding. That's good spice.
That was what's the line in Dune? The spice is the worm is the spice. I mean, all night it was like Brandon is the spice is Brandon. I mean, you kind of topped it on the.
Hey, again,
that was a spiciest.
I can see Matty.
We should do a hot ones
He
episode.
wants to say it. Come on, Matty. Say what you want to say.
No.
In your lips. I see.
Dog, you're Guy Fieri, man. You got Flavor Town and all the spice over there. That's beautiful. I love it. Like, I don't have anything against the Jaguars. I love that they came back and beat the Chargers. Like, they're battle tested in that way. That gave them some fortitude.
Mhm.
I think they take a huge step forward. Like Trevor Lawrence, another year in that system. ETN's a stud. I didn't get to really wax poetic about the AFC, but like Calvin Ridley is going to completely revolutionize what that offense is. And so if you're saying that,
Yeah.
then you must be saying that like Trevor Lawrence is in the MVP race.
Yeah.
And Calvin Ridley is also potentially in the player of the year race.
There's
because
going to be, yes, things like that. Everything has to go with a certain kind of way, but you're right. That's where I'm leaning towards.
And so people, the trendy thing has been Detroit is like the smart guy team, but also conversely in the other conference, it's Calvin Ridley's going to prove he's a top 5 wide receiver this year. That's what a lot of smart people are saying in the fantasy spaces, and that's where I live. Some people would say I need to get back to reality, but like that's what I'm hearing a lot of, and for good reason.
You gotta stop kissing all the babies, man.
Yes.
So then let's just go into it. That was a nice little a Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, alley oop there with Matty just basically just posing, basically setting it up for you, John. So why don't you lead us off with that award?
MVP. I was thinking either Hurts, but for everything to work my way, I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence.
All right. So MVP, I said my MVP obviously is Jalen Hurts. Brandon, who is your MVP? Oh, actually, you said it.
I said Jalen Hurts too. I said it first, actually.
Yeah. And then Matty?
Lamar Jackson. For season MVP, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Season MVP. All right. So offensive player of the year.
I already said mine earlier. I said Christian McCaffrey.
That's a good
He's going to go 1K and 1K again.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I was having a little bit of trouble between Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. I just feel like one of them is going to get the votes and kind of have it go their way, but I'll lean towards Jamar Chase just right now.
Okay. Matty?
Perhaps the best wide receiver we've seen since Jerry Rice, as far as like skill and tactician and hands and all that. Justin Jefferson is 101 in fantasy for a reason. He's going to get the Randy ratio in Minnesota. Like 2,000 yards and 18 touchdowns. If you told me he got that on 120 catches or something, like I could believe you. I'd be like, that's a lot. I mean, yeah, he's a matchup nightmare. And we talked about Jalen Hurts. He lost at OU against LSU, against a team that had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and one Justin Jefferson. And now, like, the reason why Justin Jefferson was so good there was because he had Chase. But now he's got Addison, who's a Biletnikoff winner in his own right. Like, you're not going to be able to double him, and you're going to pay for it every time. Like, it's his award to win. Kirk Cousins is going to be taking that vanilla ice cream, shirtless, chain dancing all the way to the bank, getting his boy offensive player of the year.
Perfect.
All right. So I will go with Jamar Chase. I think there's a competition between the two of them, between Chase and Jefferson, and I think that Chase does chase Jefferson and takes that player of the year crown from him. So he is my player of the year, and the offensive rookie of the year is Bryce Young. I think the offensive rookie of the year is Bryce Young. I will say, though, in both the offensive player of the year and offensive rookie of the year, obviously there will be votes for Bijan Robinson, but I will say both Bryce Young and Bijan Robinson will receive offensive player of the year votes in my scenario.
Very nice.
So I did give it to Bijan Robinson. I already said it earlier, but there's all the spice. Christian McCaffrey's going to go 1,000. Bijan Robinson's going to go 1,000. He's going to win offensive rookie of the year. My backup was Jordan Addison, though.
It's a good one. I think for my offensive rookie of the year, I have Gibbs from Detroit. I think that their offense is going to run through him, honestly.
As it should.
Matty?
Yeah, I took Pickett last year, and maybe like if he could have taken the back half of that and extrapolated it over the whole season, it could have worked out. He just didn't get in there late until early enough. Bryce Young is the guy day one, though, and I think Bryce Young is going to be that guy. I have Carolina over Atlanta in the division, so I have to have Carolina's guy over Atlanta's guy. There's a lot of anchoring that's going to happen with both very high picks, a lot of media, so they're certainly in the driver's seat. But Bryce Young.
Okay. So defense. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So just real quick, because like betting is a thing, and Vegas tends to have an idea. Bryce Young is plus 500. Bijan is plus 275. So Bijan Robinson is the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Player of the Year, you guys took Jamar Chase. He's actually the favorite, plus 1,100. Justin Jefferson, plus 1,300. And then
where's Chris McCaffrey on the list?
For Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey, plus 1,500. So jump on
Okay.
that. Now, getting into Most Valuable Player, Jalen Hurts, plus 1,100. And then Lamar Jackson and Trevor Lawrence are both plus 1,500.
Oh,
so
wow.
Very interesting. You know, that Lawrence take sounded spicy, and then you look at the odds and you're like, maybe there's a little fire to go with that smoke. So pretty astute. You might be able to really get some decent odds on that. The next two guys behind him are Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields. So like I like those odds better than Fields and Rodgers. So there you go.
Oh, definitely.
And then to close out before we go to the coaches, the Defensive Player of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Defensive Player of the Year. I just feel like somehow it always goes to a Cowboy. Parsons is going to get it, even though he doesn't deserve it. I feel Parsons is somehow going to get it. Just my inkling.
Yeah.
And for Rookie of the Year, I actually think Will Anderson's going to have a lot of opportunity to get after the quarterback. Again, hopefully he'll get some fumbles, cause some pressures. I don't see him getting double-digit sacks quite yet, but I think he'll be enough to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Brandon?
It's okay. It's not going to go to the Cowboys because my boy TJ Watt's going to get it again.
Hey,
he was a torn peck away from getting it 2 years in a row last year. Dude's just an absolute machine. He's probably going to lead the league in sacks again. 2021, he had 22 and a half sacks. That's just disgusting. What if he breaks his own record? 23 sacks. That's just ridiculous. I also have Will Anderson getting Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Cool.
All right. Matty?
Broncos country is not going to like this. Prefacing that now. Sauce Gardner is going to be the Defensive Player of the Year, and we're not going to like it because the guy never gets called for holding or pass interference. And then he gets interceptions, and he gets to put it on a reel. And everybody's talking about, is he maybe the best cornerback since Del Revis? It's Revis Island 2.0 and Sauce Gardner.
He's in New York.
And, like, the thing is, like,
Clip
while a lot of execs have picked, like, PS2 as, like, potentially the best cornerback in football, like, I think that quarterbacks are going to avoid going to PS2 side, and they're not going to learn. And Sauce is still going to be able to get all the glory stats, and he's going to have a couple pick sixes and all that stuff. And he's playing on the team with Aaron Rodgers and Hard Knocks, and there's a lot of steam behind the Jets, and people really desperately, for the love of God, can the Jets be good again so we could talk about a team in New York type of thing. Like, there's a lot of that, and that matters.
I don't know, man. They might just avoid throwing it at Sauce because they're just going to throw it at DJ Reed. Who? But they don't want to throw it at our entire secondary. To be honest.
I mean, to be fair. So yeah, Sauce Gardner plus 1,500 there. I guess I'm on a tear for plus 1,500 guys, but I do agree that Will Anderson plus 400. There's just no other defensive player that's in that type of a position. Jalen Carter is the number 2 guy plus 700 here. But how often do you see an interior lineman win that award? Like, they just don't have enough opportunity to stack the stats necessary.
Yeah.
Will Anderson's going to be able to. He's going to be on the field. He was arguably the best player in the draft, and they were able to trade up and get him at 3. So, yeah, it's just going to be him. I like to be contrarian, and I just cannot find. I mean, unless you believe in Detroit and all of that, and Jack Campbell and all of that, like, I just don't see it.
Who?
Jack
Campbell?
Yeah, Jack Campbell, the linebacker for Detroit.
I thought you were saying Dan Campbell. I got his name wrong. I was like, I will kill you.
Well, so for Defensive Player of the Year, Matty and Sauce Gardner, I'll hold you to that. But I will say for Defensive Player of the Year for myself, I will give it to Joey Bosa, who recently signed the deal with the San Francisco 49ers. That's at least what Ian Rappaport told me. Oh, right. It's Nick Bosa. Yeah, it's Nick Bosa. If you go look at his original tweet, he edited it and it said Joey Bosa, but he originally said he edited it to Nick Bosa and he originally had it in Joey Bosa. So,
and you're like, Joey is a Niner?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Chris Jones is furious. I love it.
But Nick Bosa is the Defensive Player of the Year, the richest man in the NFL for Defensive Player of the Year. Chris Jones is probably asking for that exact type of deal, probably at this exact moment. But yeah, Nick Bosa is the Defensive Player of the Year, and then of course Will Anderson is the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Now, I'll lead it off with the Coach of the Year. It's between the Sean Payton protege and Sean Payton himself. I think it's going to be
steal mine.
It's going to be between Dan Campbell and it's going to be between Sean Payton, like I said. And so I will actually say, because of the notoriety and everything that where it's coming through, with the fact that Denver has made the playoffs in my scenario and breaking the drought, of course, one of the longest droughts in the NFL history right now for the playoffs. I definitely think that Sean Payton and his publicity and everything, he will get the nod for Coach of the Year over Dan Campbell.
Damn. I mean, I think it's going to be Dan Campbell because the Lions are going to break their postseason win drought of 31 years.
Wouldn't that be something if obviously in my scenario I had Detroit making it, but like you have Detroit and Denver breaking their postseason drought in 1 year? That'd be insane.
Listen to this. The Lions have won one playoff game in the last 65 seasons. And they're going to win another one this year. Dan Campbell.
What about you, Matty?
Some kneecaps.
Let's send it
Suddenly 7 seasons without a playoff appearance doesn't seem as bad because we get to hang that guy right there up. Man, that's awful. I kind of want to chug this whole thing now. I'll take the guy who isn't suspended for 3 games and named Harbaugh head coach. I'm talking about John, not Jim, because I have Baltimore, the number 1 seed in the AFC. I have Lamar Jackson with the MVP, so I have to continue the storyline. If those 2 things are true, then John Harbaugh must be Coach of the Year. It's science at this point.
I'd actually go a step further because obviously they give it to the best assistant as well. If that's true, Todd Monken probably is taking home the best assistant award in the NFL as well. John?
Assistant to the regional manager.
Here's the hottest of takes. Broncos get back to the playoffs. Davis Webb wins assistant.
That is a hot take. I mean, that is.
I'm so here for that, actually.
At 28 years old.
I have to go kind of agree with Matty and do the same kind of self logic that I was going with here. If I have the Jags getting to the Super Bowl, if I have Lawrence getting the MVP, I think it has to go to Peterson for Coach of the Year as well.
So then I got to do a little circle back. Matty wasn't here for that, but Josh Sherman, who is in this chat right now, he mentioned that obviously the Jaguars could be 8-9 and win this division. So because I have to do a nice little circle back here, because you have them going to the Super Bowl, what is their record?
Shoot. For me, they don't have to be a team over the top. For me, I think if they can get into the race, but again, with that easy schedule, let's go with
12-5 works.
12. Yeah, I think 12-5 is a good number. Woo! I think that is. Yeah, especially again, that division. I think they can take advantage of it. They got to play a little bit of the AFC West, but hey, get the Chargers at the right time. Those kind of things. You never know.
That's certainly spicy having the Jaguars at 12-5. I certainly like it, and this has been a phenomenal show. So thank you guys so much for hopping on with us. Matty hopping on with us for the last, I'd say, 45 minutes or so. This has been an absolute blast. We love doing this the night before. I think it's the first time, Matty and Brandon know this. This is the first time, and obviously Matty knows, but this is the first time we've actually, I think, done this the night before the actual kickoff. So this is kind of cool to actually do it truly the night before, so it's fresh. Everybody can go and listen to it. They can critique how maybe stupid we were in terms of the predictions, But hey, we love doing it. We want to say thank you guys, and we certainly enjoyed doing this with you guys. Make sure you follow everybody that is on the show right now. John K. NFL, Brandon Miller PO, Matty Mulls at Matty Mulls Pod, and myself and Cameron Parker PO, the Manly Broncos Twitter handle at Manly Broncos. And once again, make sure you tune into the other shows, of course, on the network. And of course, the Orange and Brew podcast and the CCF show, which is, of course, the college football show and Colorado sports show that John does, which is just a new show, I should say, on the network. Yeah. So make sure you tune into that. And we have another podcast right here, and that is Matty Mulls' Topic Thunder podcast, that he does for the Oklahoma City Thunder, the rising Oklahoma City Thunder, and Lou Dort and Chet and
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Right. So make sure you tune into that podcast as well. Again, thank you guys so much for sticking with us. Did go a little bit long, but that is the beauty of a prediction show. It can go a little bit long. And again, we want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. So we appreciate you guys, and we hope that you guys enjoy this NFL season. And actually, coming next week, we have a duo of a guest that I'm trying to align. One is, of course, was in the comment section tonight, and that would be Josh Sherman. The other is his dynamic duo that you see so often on Twitter, being Eric Vigil. We'll see if we can get him and Josh on the show together.
Oh God, chaos!
That's gonna be true chaos. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, if the Broncos come out with the victory, it will be even more chaos. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the show. It has been an absolute blast.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yeah, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day.